Hey, over the years, I've gotten this kind of question quite a bit, as I'm sure many Christians have. People say, if you really believe the Bible, then why aren't you stoning witches to death? So they'll point out a scripture like in Deuteronomy 18, where it talks about witchcraft. And they'll say, hey, if you really believe the Bible, why aren't you stoning your neighbor who happens to be a witch or involved in Wiccan? Well, it's a good question. Um, and I think the answer helps everybody understand the Bible a little bit better. Um, that prohibition against witchcraft was at a specific time and for a specific people. It was the people that God had brought out of Egypt who were pledging themselves to one God, Yahweh God. So this is a polytheistic society, and God brought them out of it, and they pledged themselves to Him. And within the law of Moses, which has 612-ish commands, there was this prohibition against witchcraft, along with other occultic practices, divination, and so forth. That was those people saying before God, voluntarily, we're not going to do this. And if we do this witchcraft stuff, we're saying we'll offer up our lives to be put to death. Or actually, Deuteronomy 18 talks about being put out of the camp. So it's not quite that intense. But in Deuteronomy 13, it says, if anybody among you entices you to another god, they should be put to death. So in that respect, yeah, someone who was bringing somebody over to a deity figure connected with witchcraft, yeah, according to that law, they would be put to death. But again, that was a specific people at a specific time, standing before God. There's the law. They were asked the question, will you do it? Will you serve this God? And they said yes. They didn't have to, but they said yes. So, bottom line is, God is not interested in us stoning our neighbor to death because they're involved in any occultic kind of thing. In fact, when the Jewish nation came out of Egypt and began to travel into the Promised Land, they didn't go around finding witches and stoning them to death. This didn't have anything to do with people outside of their tribes. They offered up to others an opportunity to live among them and live by their rules, or not. So, and on top of that, I don't think in history, what I've studied, there's any example of the Jewish people ever putting anybody to death because of witchcraft, especially in the sense of claiming that right out of the law of Moses. And so historically, we don't really have any examples either. So that ought to help people with a lot of different things the Bible has to say within the law of Moses. Specific time, specific people, making a pledge to God. This isn't about us, whether it's Christians or anybody or any society, going around and enforcing those kind of laws on anyone. So I hope that helps.